Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. This is a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Katie Milton Jordan. She's a Texas business broker. Katie, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, before we hopped online, I've been really excited about visiting with you.
Katie, thank you so much. And tell us a little bit about your work and specifically, who are those types of clients that you specialize in working with?
The types of clients that I specialize in working with are what I would call Main Street business owners. It's typically a mom and pop shop in the types of businesses that we would traditionally find along Main Street America. So like a grocery store, a restaurant, a coffee shop, insurance agency, lawyer, dentist, those kind of businesses. But what makes them mainstream in the specific niche that I enjoy working with most is the fact that these businesses are owner operated. And so they're typically sold to another person who wants to be the owner operator. Does that give you a sense?
Absolutely. And from what I understand, a lot of these folks, selling their business at the end is sort of an afterthought for a lot of folks. So, how prepared are they when they reach out to you? What have you seen?
That's a really interesting question. And I would say anecdotally, we're turning away about 80% of the business owners that come to us and ask us for help. And the reasons why are reasons that they can change. It doesn't have to be this way, but 80% of the business owners that come to us want to sell their business today are not ready. The business isn't saleable, or there's something that's preventing it from being transacted. A lot of times we find some of those problems in their financials. They have financials that haven't been professionally kept, or they're not clear to understand, and it creates all sorts of issues. That's just one example. But 80% of the business owners that come to us aren't ready. So we end up having to work with them in some sort of consultative capacity before we're able to take them to market and actually succeed in a transaction.
That statistic sort of matches up with that big number, nationwide, where like 80% of most businesses that go for sale end up not getting sold. Is it they try to sell it themselves? Tell me about like some of the deal killers or what makes a business unsellable.
Deal killers. Well, it's interesting. And before I jump into the deal killers, I want to actually highlight the biggest market of business owners that are out there is the baby boomers, right? And the baby boomers are stereotypically known as the generation who doesn't want to quit, who doesn't want to give up. They love working. And so that's actually one of the challenges that intermediaries are having to deal with when we work with baby boomers. They aren't ready to exit their business because they love working and they haven't considered what their identity is outside of their company. Right. So they wait until the very last minute, until sometimes things force them to consider an exit. Like their partner has, been diagnosed with a terminal illness and they now need to, put some of their time to other priorities in life, for example. So that challenge is what complicates, some of the deal killers. But some of the deal killers, I would say, again, are unprofessional books, unclear financials, baby boomers not knowing what their identity is apart from their business. Gen X and Yers are looking for more, time, life balance, and a lot of them are burnt out. And so what happens when they near the maturity of their company or near the end of that season in business, they take their hands off the wheel because frankly, they're just tired. They're like, I can't, I can't do this anymore. And when they take their hands off the wheel, the business starts to trend down. And when the business revenues start to trend down, that can be a kiss of death. Because many people know that a business, whether it's a Main Street business or whether it's a middle market business, it's going to trade on a revenue multiple. For Main Street businesses, that revenue multiple is typically something called SDE, or seller's discretionary earnings. And in the middle market transactions, it's a multiple of EBITDA. And when that revenue goes down, all of a sudden buyer investors are looking at that and they lose that multiple. If their sales go down by like 10%, now the buyer investor multiplies that reduction in revenues by that multiple. So it has a big exponential impact.
How far in advance should people start to begin planning to sell their business?
In my opinion, I believe that people need to begin with the end in mind. So I would suggest planning your exit strategy from the first day that you start your company. It's never too soon to begin exit planning. And why I say that is because I believe that exit planning is simply good business strategy. Exit planning is not necessarily about exit planning. It's about creating a strong foundation for a healthy company. And when you create a strong foundation for a healthy company, you also create a valuable company that a future buyer investor can purchase from you.
Katie, as we're recording this, we're just coming out of a pandemic, and the great resignation's been in the news. Is today, what's the state of the market today? Is it really a good time to sell or even buy a business in today's market?
I would say it's a great time. We're seeing lots of interesting things in the market, and when it comes to buying and selling businesses in the marketplace, good businesses are recession proof. And so people are buying and selling good businesses regardless of what, the chaos that we're seeing in the marketplace right now.
Gotcha. Katie, what inspired you to become a business intermediary? Like, what got you in the business and how did you get started?
Yeah, interesting question. Well, I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur myself. So I know personally the blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to, build a successful business or to earn your stripes in the marketplace. And so I really have a heart for business owners who are trying to, create a new destiny that might be different from the one that was given to them at birth. And I really enjoy helping people achieve their potential and move there. And that kind of speaks to my background in coaching. I came to the business intermediary world as a business coach, a certified coach. I was doing a lot of work helping business owners and entrepreneurs achieve their, potential. And I'm a little bit ashamed to admit that I never knew that there was a person that could help you buy and sell a business. I never knew that there was a professional role like that exists. Even though I purchased my first business in 2010, I did it without the help of an intermediary. But even though I had bought and sold a business, I didn't know that professional role existed. And so when I discovered that role existed, it just matched up so perfectly with my coaching background and helping entrepreneurs really maximize their potential and live their best life, that it became something extra that I could bring to offer my clients. And so now I really, really get a lot of enjoyment in helping them understand the value factors that really define whether they have a business that's a transactable asset or whether they have a business that at the end of their career, they're just going to turn off the lights and lock the doors and sell the equipment.
Sounds like a great evolution and a perfect fit for your experience and knowledge. Katie, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask you that you feel is important to share with business owners today considering selling in this market?
Wow, that's a great question. You really asked a lot of great questions. I feel like you hit all of the highlights that I would have wanted to share with you. I would like to underscore that it's never too early to start business planning. It's better to have options than to have your back against the wall. So I encourage the business owners that are listening to this, regardless of what stage you're at in business, please reach out to an advisor so that you can begin to educate yourself on the process and what are the metrics that you need to keep your eye on.
So, Katie, for folks listening and tuning in now that would love to speak with you and they want to get prepared so they're not behind the eight ball so much, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Yeah, definitely. I actually have a Are You Ready checklist. It is 10 ways to check if you are ready for a business transition that I would love to share with the listeners. And if they're interested in receiving that checklist, simply reach out to me via email. My email is katie@katiemiltonjordan.com. That's Katie, Katie, at Katie Milton, MILTONJORDAN.com. And I'd be happy to share that PDF with them.
Katie, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today. I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Yes, for you as well. And thank you again for inviting me to be on your program.
That was Katie Milton Jordan, Texas business broker. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.